Hi, welcome to Wealth Management Forward, the show that talks about how to implement wealth management services into your accounting firm. I'm your host, Rory Henry, Director of Business Development at Arrowroot Family Office. I'm with Rob Santos, CEO of Arrowroot Family Office. Rob, how you doing today?
Doing great, Rory. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So today we're going to talk about investment advisory, which I know most people think about when they hear wealth management. So we're going to touch on a number of different topics. One, we'll go into the history of investment advisory. Two, we'll go over the technological advances in the space. I want to touch on the fiduciary standard, as well as how accounting firms can monetize this service.
Great.
So let's start out here and talk about investment advisory and how that fits into a holistic wealth management strategy.
Great. So, investment advisory, is what folks come to, people like Arrowroot Family Office, namely for. That's usually the big thing that they're coming to us for is, how should I invest my money? What's the best way for me to invest our capital, to set ourselves up and our families up to achieve our financial goals. So, that's what we do. And it's, as we've discussed on our previous shows, Rory, it really is kind of the last piece of the puzzle that we try to solve for after we run through comprehensive financial and tax planning.
Great. And can you talk about the history of investment advisory, how that's gone from the stockbroker and commission products to now the RIA model under a fiduciary standard?
Absolutely. So, a bit of history. After the stock crash in the 30s that brought us into the Great Depression, there was a ton of regulation that was brought about. And so there were fiduciary standards that were put in for retail banking clients, to protect them. So a lot of the insurance that you have at your commercial bank, SIPC and things like that, came out of that situation. As things started to evolve on the investment side, most people traditionally had been using a broker at a brokerage house. And the standard of care that brokers were really held to is suitability. Is this suitable for someone? Meaning, is it okay for them? Do they have enough understanding to make the decision to invest in this thing or not, right? The key difference between that and an investment advisory firm, a registered investment advisory firm, is that we have a fiduciary duty mandated by the regulators and by the lawmakers that says that we have the highest standard of care for our clients, that no matter what we're doing for them, we have to act in the best interests of our clients. And what does that mean? So that means, incorporating that holistic approach to make sure that the investments match with their holistic plan, their risk and reward profiles. But it also means comparing things like fees. So, mutual fund A versus mutual fund B or mutual fund C, if all three of those mutual funds do essentially the same thing, we have a standard of care of being able, saying we have to choose the less expensive one because that's in the best interests of our clients. And so, as people started to go more to investment advisors as opposed to brokers, that fiduciary standard kind of raised the bar for what advisors are responsible for when they give that kind of advisement. And then, the last thing I'd say is that some of the designations that people get being an investment advisor, be a CFP or a CFA, there's even a higher standard of care because you need to pass ethical exams. You're held to ethical, hurdles, for those designations to continue as well.
Sounds right. So it seems like the suitability standard and commission model that was historically what advisors, I'm sorry, what brokerage firms charge for has now been replaced by this RIA, fiduciary standard that looks out in the best interest of the client. And that's charged via a net worth, where you're incentivized to grow someone's wealth, as well as held to that higher standard.
Absolutely. And I would underline there that this is a real competitive advantage, we think, for people that are incorporating this model, because there are still a lot of brokers out there that operate under the suitability standard as opposed to the fiduciary. And where we see this a lot is in insurance. So insurance, unless they're acting as registered investment advisors, they are really acting as brokers. So they're held to that suitability standard. So when we're incorporating things like life insurance, and we're utilizing platforms that are non-commission based, set up for fiduciaries like ourselves, we see that as a highly competitive aspect for anyone's business.
Great, Robin. That's a segue into my next question. How does investment advisory as part of a holistic wealth management strategy fit into this fiduciary standard, in looking at this combined with all the other services that are offered within our holistic wealth management strategy?
Yeah, absolutely, Rory. So, the holistic wealth management strategy touches on all the different aspects that we're talking about in the program. So estate planning, insurance, financial planning, tax planning. So, once you start to put that all of those pieces together, it then starts to dictate a lot of things that can be taken into account for your investment advisory advice. So what liquidity is, what your income needs may be, what your time horizon for your capital may be. So it answers for you a lot of questions that you need in order to operate under that fiduciary standard and give the best advice for your client.
Great, Rob. And then let's talk about offering that advice. If I'm an accounting firm and I'm just getting started out with this program, how am I able to offer this advice to the client if I'm just getting started?
Yeah, so we hark on it a lot, but it's starting to crawl and walk before you start to run. So for the tax and accounting firms out there that have all of this information already, which is not only going to supply you to be a better advisor, but also cover you for compliance purposes. There is some very simple things that you can start to do in the best interests of your clients, and provide some of that advice, or partner with someone that's providing that advice, but increase your services and start getting new revenue streams.
All right. And do you want to touch on those different service offerings that we've outlined in our 3 different levels? Level 1, outsource; level 2, hybrid partnerships; and then level 3, full in-house RIA?
Absolutely. So, and the first, where you're, partnering with someone, it's more of a white label type of relationship. So, familiarizing yourself with the practices of a holistic wealth management firm like Arrowroot Family Office, and really just introducing your clients to do a lot of that holistic work for you, but keeping you in the loop as that trusted primary source and relationship owner. That would be the first one. The second would be, more of a kind of side by side. So, maybe outsourcing some things, but then also doing some things that you could be able to potentially do in house. Maybe that's, coming up with a strategy, a low cost strategy for IRAs. Maybe that's incorporating 401k or corporate deferred plans into your practice. So maybe incorporating some things in-house and outsourcing some out-house. And then the third would be taking the whole RIA model in-house, and actually starting to, implement an RIA within your practice, that you are the point person or someone on your team, and carry that, compliance aspects and operational part of that too. we think starting with that first step is probably a wonderful place to start for people to start getting experience incorporating this into their practice.
Yeah, and whether that's working with an existing wealth manager, which we'll cover in another episode, how to work with existing wealth managers, or working with a new wealth manager is something that you can start monetizing that relationship and also get the reporting that comes with having a collaboration with a wealth manager so you're not hunting down documents during tax time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great, Rob. And let's touch on next, from a marketing perspective, how can this increase the level of brand for an accounting firm by being able to offer these wealth management services?
Well, first, just even letting your current clients know that you're starting to offer this holistic wealth management service is going to be very well received if it's thought through before you do it. It's what we're seeing in the marketplace for what clients want, right? So we think that's a tremendous opportunity. The second is, it increases your firm's brand. So, anyone that's on LinkedIn or going to any of these conferences, both on the accounting or wealth management side, see that, this is what the cutting edge firms are really marketing themselves as. And the reason they're doing it is because it can be very successful for them. And then, the third is that for people that are not your clients, and after you've increased your kind of firm's brand, it should resonate with potential new clients. So not only for referrals from your existing client base, but allow you to be able to market and compete and attract other types of business.
I agree, Rob. And we go back to that offensive and defensive paradigm. Defensively, what it allows you to do is put a moat around your client base, because as we see in the marketplace, there's CFPs that are doing tax returns now. There's also life insurance agents that are getting their financial planning licenses. So everybody's moving towards this holistic wealth management strategy. So it's a good way to protect your client base, but then also go on the offensive and start increasing your revenue and start supplying some of these services.
Absolutely. And it's incorporating, like we've talked about, these services is wonderful defensive measures to retain your clients that may be attracted to other areas or technology providers, and also offensive in that you're increasing your revenue and broadening your business base to more clients and more services.
All right, Robin, speaking about technology, can you talk about technological innovations in the space and how we as advisors are using technology and what kind of user experience clients are receiving with these technological innovations?
Absolutely. So, the big one in the marketplace that everyone is kind of seeing is a partnership with Wealthfront and TurboTax. So the technology providers are starting to try to, zero in on a couple aspects of holistic wealth management and advisory to provide a very streamlined and low cost solution. But what we see is there's a lot of other potential partners that accountants and advisors can be able to utilize to do that. So, a few aspects, of things that we use to be able to collect data and manage that effectively. Right Capital on financial planning or e-money is also a very popular one. Utilizing a Salesforce CRM or some other type of CRM. These are all the kind of things that have really beautiful interfaces for clients to enter data, but also help you stay better organized and become more efficient. So we're starting to see a lot of advisors pivot, and instead of trying to compete with these technological advances, start to partner. We're seeing that be tremendously valuable for people that adopt it.
Yeah, some of our technology partners, you can open an account in minutes. They've streamlined the accounting where the client and the advisor receives tax forms, and there's automated billing. So they automatically track, calculate, debit, and distribute fees.
Absolutely. And so, a lot of the concerns that we hear from accounting firms on the operational side, right? How do we open these accounts? How are they monitored or managed? Or, how are fees or distributions done? And a lot of this can now be done through a portal with a click. So that alleviates what used to really require a pretty heavy staff. To be, that heavy lift is really done by the computers now.
Great, Robin. You want to maybe touch on how we're utilizing Zoom in this virtual world and advising clients in a team-based model?
Absolutely. So, COVID has provided this explosion of software adoption and virtual interaction. So things like Zoom, very, very helpful, can make you take more meetings, face to face if you need to do them in shorter periods of time. So you don't have to travel. There's no, it makes things in a lot of aspects more efficient. And the younger generation that's going to inherit all of this capital, they're adopting these technologies like Robinhood and things like that, which can be incorporated into your holistic model as well. But we're seeing that, even older generations have been forced to start to adopt technological advances, and that's only a plus for everyone. So it can deepen your relationship. It can make you more efficient and ultimately more profitable.
Great, Rob. And I think I want you to have you touch on maybe the educational aspect in advising clients and how we're moving more towards educating the clients and kind of demystifying some of these processes that historically have been siloed with subject matter experts. Now we're using technology to provide education and advice.
Absolutely. So education is really, really important to give the best advice to your clients so that they have a good understanding. But there are a few pain points there while you're doing this holistic model. How much should we put away? What will that do dependent on what my asset allocation will do? What kind of volatility will I see? And platforms like Betterment that we've partnered with, and especially for newer investors that have a lot of those questions. Historically, we've had to run iterative financial plans to try to get our point across. Now we have tools that you can be able to provide to the client, and they can input some of these different scenarios themselves in real time, see what the outcomes could be. So, technology is providing us, the ability to provide people with education and also providing them with the opportunity to learn at their own speed. So again, that takes a lot of burden off of the advisor or the planner. If you can load information into something like a right capital financial plan, and then allow them to change some of those variables and see what that would do to their holistic financial plan, is invaluable because it takes a lot of those burdens off the advisor, and then makes it more collaborative.
Yeah, Rob, and I think just having your clients see your face and having you speak to them through different technological tools is something that only can deepen that client relationship. I know it's been effective for us here. People love seeing you, Rob, and having you speak to them via these online tools. So I think that's something that we can highlight is people want to see and hear from you, and using these platforms to be able to communicate and advise them is something that is really effective in today's environment.
Absolutely.
Great, Rob. And let's just touch on the value of implementing investment advisory into your accounting firm. Whether that's talking about effective and profitable tax planning, just increased revenue through the partnerships or offering the service, maybe opening up pathways to other services.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, we think this makes you a better advisor, right? Deepens your relationships. And next, it's more effective and profitable tax planning, because if you're incorporating the wealth side on the top on top of the tax advisory that you're already doing, you're getting paid for the work that you're pretty much already doing. So you're also getting increased revenue. You're providing more comprehensive client services, and you're opening up a pathway to become that trusted resource, or at least the conduit for them to start to look at other aspects of their financial life, be that estate planning, life insurance, or holistic financial planning.
Great, Robin. Let's talk about getting started here. some options for getting started, talking about, whether it's outsourcing or working with a current wealth manager, creating partnerships, and what accounting firms can do to start to crawl and to walk to get started with investment advisory.
Absolutely. So the first step would be to reach out to us so that we can schedule a time to go over what you're thinking and what, if you're interested in learning more, so that we can start to try to help craft a solution for you that's bespoke for you in your firm. And that may include working with one of your current wealth managers that you're currently working with, forming a new partnership, either with a tech-enabled service or another wealth manager, or even Arrowroot, if you so choose. And we can teach you and guide you about best practices and how to set that up. And then ultimately, if the ultimate goal is to start your own registered investment advisory, we can show you what all of that entails, right? And we can be able to try to put together a program for you to get your firm to that aspect. So first step would just be reach out. And then, the second is let us try to help you figure out what the best solution is for you and your firm.
Great, Rob. All right. I appreciate the advice here on investment advisory and helping accounting firms adopt this service in this holistic wealth management strategy.
Of course. Love it.
All right. You have a great day.
You too. Take care.